Hey, we need to tell the projectionist there's sound but no picture. Oh.
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
One ring to rule them all.
So wait, the One Ring is supposed to control everyone who wore the other rings, right? We're told later that the race of men were turned into the Nazgûl, but it didn't affect the elves and dwarves at all? Apparently Sauron put on his ring and tried to control the dwarves and elves by yelling, "Go ring," and all he got was sparks flying out of his fingers.
That pronunciation of Sauron. Also, the rings had a different effect on each race. They turned the men into the Nazgûl because they were mortal and they thrived off of their greatest desires, though the other ones made the dwarves more greedy, meanwhile the elves weren't affected for separate reasons.
What the f*** is Sauron reaching for? Just kill the guy! You have this huge mace for killing!
Hey, there's this thing called overconfidence. It's how lots of villains lose in stories.
Reading.
Sinning reading, even though we wouldn't even have these movies without that.
And I don't expect I shall return. In fact, I mean not to.
After Bilbo's unnerving proclamation, Gandalf apparently said, "Dude, you need to smoke some weed."
Considering it was around midday when Gandalf came here, and now it looks like evening when they're out smoking, it's clear some time has passed. Also, that's not weed, it's tobacco.
And turn them all to stone.
Bilbo then said, "Kids, I'll tell part 2 of this story next year, and I'll finally finish it the year after that. Because even short stories are best when told in trilogies."
Yeah, we all know The Hobbit didn't need to be 3 movies. That's old news at this point. But how is that a sin of this movie?
When you see Gandalf magically transport like this, don't you wonder why he doesn't use magic more often in crucial spots during the trilogy?
Like what? That's a really vague statement when you say crucial spots. Besides, where else would Bilbo have gone if not his home? Obviously, Gandalf knew he'd be here. As we established, you've seen The Hobbit, which means you would also have known that Gandalf and Bilbo have known each other for a very long time.
What the f*** was Frodo doing for the last 20 minutes after Bilbo disappeared? Looking for Bilbo in places other than Bilbo's house?
To be fair to Frodo, he didn't know that Bilbo's ring could turn him invisible. He's most likely looking for him throughout the party before eventually deciding to check his home.
Gandalf sees the freaking eye of Sauron when he stupidly tries to touch the ring, but yet he still needs to do research to figure out what the ring is. Doesn't he have more than enough information at this point to give Frodo a head start before the ring wraiths show up?
Maybe Gandalf thought he was seeing things. He wanted to be absolutely sure that this is the One Ring. Also, he doesn't know that the Nazgûl are coming after Frodo yet, not until Sauron tells him.
This is the only time in the movie where the Nazgûl just straight up murder a dude. All he said was who goes there, and he gets snuffed out. This could have been the guy who knew all things Baggins, and they just destroyed their best lead.
There was a hobbit that already told them where to go, and this is meant to show how evil they are. The fact that they just kill a guy with no hesitation, basically just because.
Yes, Pippin! My point is, he's clearly overreacted!
I guess Farmer Maggot gave up? Or at the very least his side did?
In this shot, you can barely see our 4 hobbits running through. Do you think we'd be able to see Farmer Maggot too?
Get off the road! Quick!
Convenient hiding tree is convenient.
Jeremy thinks a hiding spot in the middle of a forest is unrealistic.
Also, this one of the 9 is terrible at his job. Isn't the ring supposedly calling to Sauron? I mean, why is he even sniffing? If his nose worked, he clearly would smell the hobbits, or the ring.
The ring is a beacon to Sauron and the Nazgûl that only lights up when someone puts it on.
If the Nazgûl can't detect the ring 2 feet in front of their faces, why didn't Gandalf just find a container for the ring that he could magically seal, or at least lock, and throw away the key so no one could get into it? Frodo wouldn't be tempted to wear it, and no one could possibly detect it, and the road to Mordor becomes that much easier.
I doubt something like that exists in Middle-earth.
Then he falls for the old toss something to distract the bad guy trick from every other movie ever.
But there's a reason this is in every movie ever. It works. If a bad guy is looking for someone and he hears a noise somewhere, of course he'd check it out. In fact, I think he would have seen the movie if the ring wraith didn't follow the noise.
It went from day to night pretty fast here, but maybe that much time has really passed in this case. So if that's true, has the ring wraith been chasing the hobbits for several hours without making one bit of headway?
Yes.
Bad guy doesn't like water cliche.
Has it ever been established that these ring wraiths or their horses can walk on water? Do you think they're Jesus?
Peter Jackson tries to one-up M. Night and Hitchcock by gnawing on a carrot during his director's cameo.
Sending Peter Jackson's cameo.
If the ring can will itself to land perfectly on Frodo's finger, then why the can't it just will itself to fly off into the air and roll its happy way back to Mordor?
Well, no, the ring can't do that because it's an inanimate object that can only move whether by man or its environment.
How did Sam, Merry, and Pippin know Frodo was up here? They didn't call out to Frodo when he reappeared downstairs, so were they just running around crashing into every closed door until they finally ran into Frodo?
Probably. I feel like you just answered your own question, but whatever.
At all times they feel the presence of the ring, drawn to the power of the One.
Until it's convenient for them not to be drawn to it.
Again, it's easier for them when it's being worn. That's why when Frodo put it on, the Nazgûl immediately knew to come to Bree.
If you look really hard, you can see Tom Bombadil in this shot.
Oh, so now the books matter? Then where are the complaints about how this isn't a mini-musical?
Either you don't care if Gandalf dies, in which case just kill him, or you want to keep him alive for some reason, in which case don't put him in a prison that basically anyone would die in at the first thunderstorm.
Jeremy thinks lightning can kill a Maiar. For those who don't know, they're the children of the creator himself, and Gandalf isn't the only one here in the trilogy. There's also Sauron, Saruman, the Balrog, and Radagast the Brown.
I know the hobbits are here for comic relief for the most part, at least early on, but damn, nobody is anywhere near that stupid to light a fire on a tower at night when you're hiding from supernatural hunting machines. Nobody.
But the movie itself literally says that too. Frodo calls them fools for lighting this fire. The fact that the film was aware this is stupid doesn't make it a sin.
After we've seen them straight up murder people for asking who goes there, the Nazgûl finally find the hobbits and decide to go into a slow attack formation so that Strider can show up in time to save the day.
I mean, these hobbits are carrying weapons this time. While they're definitely not strong enough to fight back against them, I still think they can be somewhat hurtful. I mean, Merry stabs the Witch King later in the trilogy and hurts him.
Oh, these bad guys are afraid of water and fire. Wow, so Earth is like the only major element they're not afraid of?
And air. You forgot air. Also, it's fire. Of course they'd want to avoid it.
Well, we're only an hour in, but it's already clear that good old H2O is the real hero of Middle-earth.
He says, even though they start walking into the river since it's not deep at all.
Arwen has the ability to summon a tsunami of water horses. What a strangely specific ability.
So in the book, Arwen didn't cause this. This was actually a security defense from Rivendell. With that in mind, we can assume that this isn't a superpower Arwen has. She just simply activated the security defense.
Aquila ex machina.
But it's not, since Gandalf literally asked a moth to come and find his eagle to pick him up.
Is there really nothing that Saruman can do about the eagle? Isn't he a powerful wizard? Doesn't he cause a avalanche from hundreds of miles away later in the movie? He spins Gandalf around and closes doors with his mind, but an eagle is just too tall of an order.
Mispronouncing Saruman. Also, lore dump time. The eagles are servants of Manwë, king of the Valar, who are superior to Maiar. Translation, they are stronger than Saruman. You mess with him, you mess with the king of Middle-earth.
Destroy it!
So Elrond knows this is a ring of supreme evil. All the evil in the world can be ended by throwing the ring in the fire, but he lets Isildur go without a fight. He could have thrown him into the fire and then ran out screaming, "Oh no, Isildur fell into the fire. Whatever will we do? Oh, the humanity."
Dang, now Isildur's name too? You really need to learn to listen to these names. Also, saying that he fell into the lava sounds a little suspicious to me. I buy the idea that doing something like that would risk an elf-man conflict that isn't worth starting.
You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my axe.
You mean the axe you just shattered while trying to destroy the ring?
This is a dwarf. You don't think he has multiple axes?
Where did they get sausages? Did they make them themselves out here in the wild? Or are they carrying raw meat casings for 40 days without refrigeration and then eating them?
I think you answered your own question again. Yeah, they probably made this sausage themselves. You don't think some of these people know how to hunt? Aragorn is literally a ranger who knows the woods as good as an elf.
Let us go through the mines of Moria. Let the ring bearer decide.
What a cop-out.
But isn't the ring bearer basically the leader?
No.
How does Gimli not know about this? Or Gandalf? This obviously happened a long time ago. Sure, there's no internet or phones, but word should have traveled faster than this.
How? All these dwarves died, so who would have told anybody outside the mines? And I don't think anyone else except maybe dwarves care enough to visit this place.
Gandalf said it was a 4-day trip through the mines, but it takes the Fellowship like a couple of hours, if that, to get to the other side.
Or it actually did take them 4 days, but the way the movie is edited makes it seem like it's only been a few hours, you know? Because that's how movies work.
8 that are here, yet 9 there were set out from Rivendell. Tell me, where is Gandalf?
Dude, this movie is 3 hours. Couldn't you just ask where Gandalf is right off the bat?
Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
For the mirror shows many things.
Why would the mirror show his friends making troubled glances? What can be learned from that? I could have told you that.
I'm pretty sure this is meant to tell him that he has to continue the rest of his journey alone, which is exactly what he does at the end of the movie.
He will try to take the ring. You know of whom I speak.
I'd love to tell you which person by name, but I'm afraid he'll hear this telepathic communication that only you can hear.
Galadriel literally just said that Frodo knows who she's talking about, so that would have been pointless.
Not dark, but beautiful and terrible as the dawn.
Terrible as the dawn? The is that supposed to mean?
Jeremy is a morning person.
The Uruk-hai throws a shield at Aragorn's neck that has a neck-sized hole at the end of it.
Jeremy points things out on the screen, cliche.
Oh, now it's glowing again, and long before the orcs are even in view.
So for context, Jeremy earlier said in the movie because Sting wasn't glowing even though there were orcs around.
Why isn't Frodo's blade glowing right now? Are all the orcs dead? Or right now? Right now there's definitely some orcs close enough to cause that blade to glow blue, right?
And while he had a good point there, he's now drilling it even further by pointing out it does glow when the Uruk-hai are coming. Like, we get it, buddy. Maybe you could have just left this issue alone.
Discount Kristen Stewart.
Apparently, this kid looks like Kristen Stewart to Jeremy.